were, and he was going to be the savior too. After we realized Randall Cobb wasn't stepping up to the plate as much, he might be out, and if he doesn't watch out, he could be the one falling off the wide receiver list. Not a guy like Janis or Abaderas or maybe even oh my God, name just let me Devontae Adams. I don't know what happened there, brain fart. So we'll see what happens there. So I think, especially with how last season played out, and usually at a position that I think is relatively concrete from year in to year out, by what happened last year, and you kind of always see it that, when kind of back in the year in 2013 when Aaron Rodgers went out with his collarbone injury, they kind of went into that season kind of unprepared as far as who they were going to go with for a backup quarterback. Is Graham Harrell, is he going to be that guy? Then I think that's when they brought in Vince Young for a spell there. Seneca Wallace. Eventually they got lucky enough with Aaron Rodgers' absence that they got Matt Flynn back. So, and then after that, they got Scott Tolzien, I think, and they kept Matt Flynn, so they kind of solidified their position and backup quarterback for the next few years. It was more of a concern, and I think that's kind of what we're going to see with the wide receiver spot here too this year. I think that's why they drafted Davis this year, just to further get the depth of that wide receiver spot to show more concern there. So we'll see about that. And then as camp plays out, we'll talk more stories too there. But one thing I had to note, because it kind of just sparked a memory there, talking about when Aaron Rodgers was out back in 2013. And I know Rudy's been asking, especially he's all giddy because Jeff Gordon's back. And I think I talked a little bit about this last week too, about understanding that why Dale Earnhardt Jr. is out with his concussion, and into being upset and understanding the differences there. But kind of that feeling I had in 2013 with seeing all these backup quarterbacks, and it was kind of cool to see some of these other quarterbacks get their shot at winning games or what have you. You were disappointed because you knew that season was maybe basically a waste. I don't know how else to really kind of word that, but they still did squeak in the playoffs that year. But I think that's kind of the same thing with Dale Earnhardt Jr. here, and I know people are concerned about Dale Jr. maybe eventually just kind of jumping up and retiring. I'm maybe not so concerned about that. I am concerned maybe a little bit as far as being, not that Dale Jr. will never race again, but I think Dale Jr. will, and maybe not a concern, but because I think he has the right to, and I would totally understand it, but I think he's going to take as long as it will take. He's not going to do anything to, I think it's harder for him to do now because he kind of put it in the doctor's hands, to say that, he's going to return this week like he's, initially supposed to or whatever with, at Watkins Glen. And if you kind of listen, carefully, I think that's how long Jeff Gordon was going to fill in. I don't think it necessarily stated point blank that that's how long Dale Jr. is going to be out. So, as far as the championship's concerned, he can come back. If he comes back, the week of Richmond, I'm sure NASCAR will give him the waiver. If he wins Richmond, he's in the chase, and he can go out there and compete for the championship there. But so I think he's right now still just outside of the chase. But I don't think that's a big concern for him. I don't think it should be. People compared it to 2012 where he sat out only 2 races. So if he sits out, he's sitting out 3. If he sits out 4, we gotta worry about him getting done. Him being done. Now I think if he comes back and goes out with another concussion injury, then I would definitely be worried that he's totally done. But I think maybe, he sat out those 2 races in 2012 to, maybe not putting himself in a bad situation, and maybe still came back a little bit too soon, especially when it was towards the end of the chase. You might as well maybe miss the rest of the season at that point. So, kind of splitting hairs there, but, especially this year, even if he has to take the rest of the season off, come back in 2017 strong, and kind of just wrap out your career. And if it's not winning a championship, but just kind of go out on the career on your terms. If he doesn't race a race by the end of the year, I'm sure that's going to spark a lot of people saying that Dale Jr. is going to be done. But I'm going to say he won't be done. As far as his career is concerned, but maybe done for the year might be best, or maybe just take your time. No big rush. You're being in the chase. We all know it's retarded anyway, so being in the chase, doesn't really make a difference. Plus, I mean, if he comes back for a few races towards the end of the year, as we've seen like Aaron Rodgers when he came back that first game against Chicago and played in that champion or the wild card game against I think it was the 49ers that year. Kind of had a little bit of a rough, it was a little touch and go there for a bit. So maybe just get some of that rust off before you get to 2017. Maybe. With that, I'm going to wrap up this week's show of Sports Talk 920. I'm sure next week we'll talk hopefully more about the baseball trade deadline. We didn't talk a whole lot about that, but we might be talking about Jonathan Lucroy. Lucroy had the rumor of being traded to the Mets. I think that got turned down. Kind of like maybe as a payback for Gomez. I don't know. But anyway, we'll talk more about the trade deadline of guys like Braun, guys like Lucroy are dealt. We've seen some of the trades like Chapman from the Yankees to the Cubs, and he's been pitching well there. So there'll be more trade deadline talk probably to come up with in the next week or so of the excitement of new faces and new places. But again, if you want to follow us all week long on Twitter at ST920 at twitter.com, on our Facebook page at facebook.com/ST920, and of course on our blog you can check out our second half MLB predictions, the picks for Pocono and the NASCAR Sports Talk 920 NASCAR Pick'em standings as well. You can check that out on our blog at sportstalk920.blogspot.com. But until next time, thank you all for listening to this week's episode of Sports Talk 920. Good day now.